This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by... I'm standing here with Adam Kokesh, probably one of the most famous anti-war activists in the entire United States right now, which is saying something. And Adam, you had some ideas that you wanted to share with libertarians with regard to the ways that libertarians could get their message out to the anti-war movement in general. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Well, aside from great groups like antiwar.com and everything they're doing to bring the libertarian perspective to the anti-war movement, I think in the greater social trends that we're seeing right now under Obama, in the Obama bubble bursting, and everybody in this country getting covered in choke, there's a really great opportunity for us as people get disillusioned with liberalism in general and start to understand that war isn't just a tragedy in and of itself, but the worst abuse of state power, and that the real anti-human trend of the past of human history is the creation of abusive governments, and that when we can just reduce the power of government in general, at least through localism, assertion of individual rights, through the libertarian philosophy, understanding that government, like George Washington said, is not eloquent to reason, force, and like fire, a dangerous servant and a fearful master, and really give people a chance to embrace that core of the philosophy. Whether they come around to our positions, it doesn't matter, because the libertarian movement, we don't agree on a lot of positions, but we know who is a part of it when they argue from the philosophy, and if they interpret the situation different and the reality different and come to a different position based on their analysis of their limited data as opposed to our analysis of our limited data, it doesn't matter, because we need to start seeing the freedom movement as something a lot broader and more inclusive. But specifically, people who can understand that perspective and argue positions from that perspective can really have an opportunity to reach out to people who are inclined to be just against war in general, and when they get that disillusionment with Obama and see, well, maybe entrusting the state to do all these other things that creates this kind of authority, that creates this kind of social tendency to obey, maybe that's not such a good thing after all. Maybe we should confine the powers of the state to the Constitution, for starters, but really understand that it is a group of people that only have a socially granted monopoly on the use of force. It's nothing special. People who make up the government aren't unique and need to be held to the same moral standards as any other individual. I can't steal from you and call it taxation. I can't beat you and call it justice. I can't kidnap you and enslave you and call it the draft, and I can't kill you and just call it capital punishment because I feel like it, or come up with some crazy legal justification for taking your life, or for saying in any way that I own any part of your body or have any claim to your rights that you don't.
Now, taking libertarian ideas and getting and using anti-war sentiment to maybe help libertarian ideas, what's the method for doing that? Do you have a website or something? Is something that people can do to help you?
Well, I have my blog. It's Kokesh, KOKESH.blogspot.com. There's my shameless plug. But I think it's about developing this mentality within the libertarian movement, and I think it is, and I'm doing what I can to set the example, I think, by strongly representing myself as a libertarian, and yet being willing to work with the anti-war movement. Heck, they've practically made me a leader from when I got there, which is, I don't attribute to anything that I can take credit for, but really largely luck and circumstance. But being able to work with people of different ideologies and represent that ideology and say that if they're willing to take away this state power, if they want to work against war, doesn't matter if they're communists, socialists, conservatives, whatever, we can work with them, because when it comes down to it, the freedom movement really in its broadest sense is the people against the power, and if we don't hang together, surely we will all hang separately. But one of the things we're doing specifically with the Iraq Veterans Against the War that I'm very happy to be a part of is supporting GI resistance. Guys who are resisting their orders on the grounds that they're unconstitutional, guys like Camille Mejia, Aaron Watada, and there's dozens every day that are having the courage of their convictions to act and face the punishment and all the repercussions of living principle, which we can all learn from and benefit from, but then develop a culture in the military of resistance, so that people in the military, instead of considering just their orders and their obedience and their paychecks, start going, well, wait a second, I swore an oath to support the Constitution. You know what? I'm not going to Iraq until I see a declaration of war. I mean, if we had that kind of culture, the aggressive invasion of Iraq never would have happened.
New Hampshire's State House, among the least bad governing institutions on earth. But even here, legislators plot theft and destruction. However, they don't do it without opposition.
The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance stands in their path and stands ready to train you in the ways of the Citizen Freedom Lobby. Visit nhliberty.org to get involved.